Welcome back to part 4 of Galactic Alignment. I'm your Universal Travel Agent, Spectral Star Wizard. I'm an Astro-Cosmologer. Again, that means that I combine astrology and mind cosmology for macro field insight to tune in through intuition. Primarily, though, tuning into the heart, tuning into the spirit, tuning into the unified field. I'm going to also do a video on the 7-directional meditation, which highly emphasizes that as well. Activates us, tunes us into the unified field for inner knowing and higher guidance beyond the physical planes. Invoking our highest state of consciousness into the body, not being afraid to be here, very important. Owning our responsibility, we are here. We manifested here for a reason. Very important to acknowledge and tune into. And if you'd like a reading for the same reason, we tune into macro field vibration. Astrology is like a tuning fork or, as I was saying, an Ethernet connection password. It tunes us in through intuition, through the alpha waves of the unified field of awareness. So if you'd like to get a hold of me, for a reading, I do personal, relationship, business coaching, spiritual coaching. All of these things are available. There really is no limit to what's accessible through the unified field. So if you'd like to get a hold of me, my contact is universaltraveler@cjly.net. You can visit my site, universaltraveler.ca. And again, I have a radio show every Sunday at noon, which is free podcasts are available every Sunday at about 2 p.m. PST. Again, all these contact details are at the beginning of the first video. So finishing up here on the planetary cycles that are culminating, that affirm the 2012 alignment and the paradigm level shifts that are occurring. Pluto and Uranus aligned in Virgo, which created what I like to call a should buster. Now, the only shoulds that get busted are the ones that are out of alignment with natural law and the cycles that are occurring right now. And that was a seed event which created a trigger for us to process, as it is in a process of releasing right now. So that was a seed event. You stick your toe in, you find out what the water's like, then you process what are you going to do since this is the condition. And it is literally saying we must be in alignment and harmony with nature and natural laws, or we suffer accordingly, or are prosperous accordingly, and any point between, again, accordingly. So the higher the level, the better off we are. And in the long run, that's really important. We can be apparently getting away with something, but natural law will show us step by step in processes of how aligned we are. And when it comes to the crisis point of the change, it becomes really obvious, and that's when it matters the most. But what matters right now is what are we doing now, because that's what's coming. So, and that is what changes our experience of what's coming accordingly, again. So, now that Saturn has switched places with Uranus, Chiron has returned to where it was in the 60s. All of these seed event things have now, Uranus and Saturn have switched places. Saturn went all the way around and then halfway around again. So it's in the opposite position it was, whereas Uranus just went halfway around. Again, affirming cyclic order. Pluto, in the meantime, is right in between the two, so it moved a quarter of that distance. Again, just like gears in a clock. Cyclic macro field synchronization. So one went 1.5 around, one went half around, and one went a quarter around. These are the outer planets. Neptune, that's another story. I'll get into that in a few moments, because that is the ruler of the ending age of Pisces that's occurring, and Neptune goes into Pisces, guess when? 2012, of course. So, yeah, and these are hundreds of years, the cycle of Neptune. 85 years for Uranus. And Neptune is almost exactly twice that length. So, again, they're all self-affirming energies, and I could go into all the planets and how they're all synced, but that's another story. I don't have time for that right now. That gives us an overview. Look at all the synchronicities. I could go on and on about them. I don't have time. The point for us is, or you, or whoever's listening, for the collective, is, yeah, somebody studied this is what it's dialed into. So the squaring of Pluto and Uranus now, right when these are getting really, really, really close, the whole movements, global movements, we are the 99%. We require enough to thrive. Now, again, back to nature, back to natural law, equality. Saturn's in Libra, the sign of equality, balance in relationships, self and other balance. All is one being in multiple forms. That's equality. Honoring equal rights. Huge. And Uranus and Aquarius rule human rights, human respecting equality, and shall I say, it's very, very considerate of the whole in the diversity. It considers that diversity is the modality of nature, as opposed to a problem or a war. You might not always like all the diversity, but that's your choice. Maybe that's your conditioning. That's what the universe is doing. You might want to accept it. Again, easier said than done, easier done when said. So this squaring is very important because it's creating a crisis of consciousness collectively. Uranus in Aries, again, electricity in the sign of self-motivation. That's the last straw where people start to act and making their point about human rights very clear and very active. It's as obvious as you can get. Square to Pluto, which is in Capricorn, and Capricorn rules collective structures, and as I mentioned, Pluto rules transformation. 1 and 1 equals transformation of collective structures. And the way we share resources, Saturn, which rules Capricorn, is in Libra. Balance your sharing of resources. It's as clear could ever be. Now, this whole process, again, is they're all shifting signs at around 2012. The next most important thing I would say here is that Neptune, as I was just mentioning, is entering its own sign of Pisces, which is doubled by the fact that Chiron, the wounded healer, the catalytic energy, or a very, very profoundly catalytic energy, is also co-rules Pisces-Virgo, the Pisces-Virgo axis. They're both entering together. So, again, when I say entering, this is a very long process because they're very slow-moving planets. They retrograde in and out of the sign because the Earth is going around, and it appears that the planet goes either way according to which way we are going around the sun. That is, when we're looking at a planet, when we're coming up to it, we are going faster, so it looks like it's going backwards. But when we go around the other side, it looks like it's going forward because we have reversed the angle. Even though we're still going the same direction, we've reversed the way we're looking at that planet and the way it appears to be moving. It's a lot like passing a car on the highway and it looks like it's going backwards, but no, you're just going faster, obviously. Same thing. That's what a retrograde is. So these planets are going in and out of these signs at 2012. It's occurring already. Now, again, Neptune and Chiron going into Pisces. Neptune and Chiron both rule, they co-rule Pisces, which is the age that's ending. That means that Neptune and Chiron are in the exact point of the zodiac of the creation cycle, the apex point that matches the precessional cycle. So this means, again, solar systemic, local, Earth, terrestrial, us here now, aligned exactly with galactic solar orbital cycles. That in itself is all the affirmation one could need. The synchronicity of it is absolutely incomprehensible. It's probably in the millions that these things would be going on by some kind of coincidence. Again, coincidence, totally. Co-inside dance. That's a hologram. All of these things are working together within the field. They might express different things, just like people. They all express different, unique ways, but it's all serving the Earth, hopefully, and accordingly. So Neptune, which rules compassion, Pisces, unity consciousness, accepting diversity, moving through all of our judgments, which were conditioned, almost all of them. So certain people make a lot of money on duality, but that's another story. That is what, again, dictatorships are sinking. They always sink. This is a biggie, Titanic, literally Titanic level dictatorships sinking, going too fast, it's craziness. It's totally unsustainable. It has no chance. The best thing that these people could do is wake up and turn the car right now, which is going to happen. It's the reason I can say that, and so many people agree with that, is that this is what the macro field is doing, with or without our egos. And again, our egos could align and be very prosperous and happy and blissing out, ultimately, or they could all the way through the spectrum to needlessly suffering and resisting. And you cannot resist a macro field movement without being dragged, which sounds like worse than a drag. It's horrifying when you look at the evolution of the spirit. You don't want to get left behind here. So you don't want to leave yourself behind is better. You don't want to be dragged, to let go of any resentments or anything like that. Those, holding resentment only hurts the holder. Neptune, Pisces, Chiron, Pisces entering together. It says forgiveness. This is what I call the 4 A's. Forgiveness, acceptance, acknowledgement, apology. And they are factored by compassion. Acknowledgement is one of the most key words because when we acknowledge something, we have dropped almost all of the charge right there. Any resistance, we've acknowledged it. Compassion goes through the roof when we acknowledge something. Then when we accept it, it goes through a whole other level. It's factored by itself again. Then the compassion factors itself again. Then we enter a state of forgiveness and apology. Now you've dropped all your negative attachments and miasms holding negative energy and on and on and on. All these things drop away right there. And very simple process, very important. Right now, by the way, just to mention, the Sun is in Scorpio today. The Mercury and Venus are exactly aligned and entering Sagittarius 15 minutes apart. So this goes to show the incredible synchronicity and timing and impeccability of this. And as I mentioned, Scorpio rules rebirth and letting go of the outmoded. So this is an ultimate time to be doing this, and just capturing this video at this time, doesn't matter when you hear it, it's going to affect you that much more. Looks like I'm going to have to do another section because there is probably 5 or 10 minutes left of very important information, and it really is worth taking the time to dial into these things.